First off, congratulations to Phil Mickelson, the oldest man to ever win a major in the PGA with his PGA Championship win on Sunday. Second off, congrats again to Brett. Another 4-0 week for him, so props to him. Taking a look back at how I did last episode, though, not as great, not as bad. A 3 for 3 week. However, two of my future picks from episode 141 also did fall off, but those are going to chip away, and hopefully I hit one that'll cover the rest. Right, Brett?
That's the goal, Higgins. And, you hit on your double header, which was nice. And I hit on my two Levy locks because I carried one over from episode 141. I took the Heat plus 6. The line ended up moving to 5.5 some places, closer to tip time. So I did beat the books a little bit, Higgins, but it didn't matter because the Heat would have covered the 5.5 anyway. And then you and I squared off in the Levy Lock pick of the pod. And Dame Tala, he came through for me.
And we'll have game two to talk about in that series as well, Brett. You took a 3.5 game lead on me in the Levy Lock pick of the pod race that we have right now. You're 21-17 on the year. Shout out to you. You're having a good May as well. Up 13.5 units on the year in total. Let's go into our beginner's boulevard because this is a term you might hear for some of these playoff lines as you find teams that you might be more confident in and you want to buy in on them a little bit harder. You might sell some points. Bettors can sell points by making an alternate line, alternate spread game, or totals. And if you move a line from -6.5 to -7.5, let's say, then you're selling some points and typically you see some juice added on to the margin.
Yeah, I mean, if you're really confident in a team to win, Higgins, this is a good way to maybe get the odds in your favor. But I don't normally do this. If anything, I would buy points, which is the exact opposite of this. I would say, all right, I'll take this number, which is better, and I think my team can cover. Maybe I have to pay -130 juice, but this is a good way. If you're really confident in a team, Higgins, sell some points.
And you'll get some favorable odds because of it if you do sell points, but it obviously is riskier because if the line should be where you think it is, then more often than not, it would be. Right, Brett?
Yeah, typically Higgins. I mean, I know we like to think we're pretty smart around here. I just went 4-0 in the last episode, but typically the books are a little bit smarter than us.
I mean, how many times has the hook even caught us? They're very sharp with their lines. They do this professionally for a reason. So if you're gonna sell, make sure you have some very good reasoning on why you're selling some points. Maybe if you're trying to beat some late line movement with potential like lineups being locked potentially, but other than that, it is a risky play. Brett, let's jump into our NBA though because we talked about our head-to-head matchup in the Portland Trailblazers versus the Denver Nuggets. Last episode we did that. You came out on top, obviously. Damian Lillard performed spectacularly. CJ McCullough as well. That entire Trailblazers team played well. But Brett, I really don't think the Trailblazers are going to take both of the games in Denver. And with the line exactly where it was for game one, at Denver being favored by -1.5, you're going to find me on the Nuggets again. Just like last time, I am doubling down on this line.
Higgins, I don't know why you hate your hometown team, man, but the Nuggets, like I mentioned now last episode, I think this is not the best line, Higgins. Although again, -102, not enough for me. So I'll just take the 1.5 at -110 for Portland. And that's where I'll be on the game on Tuesday night. But Higgins, the Denver Nuggets are beat up. This is not the true 4 seed. They're not with Jamal Murray. Barton's been hurt. Aaron Gordon, although playing, is battling through some stuff. So these Nuggets are not healthy. They'll be better next year.
This Nuggets team, if it wants to find success, honestly, it needs to look at Jokic with Michael Porter Jr. In game 1, Michael Porter Jr. played fantastically in the first half, but then became rather quiet for a bit in that second half, which is kind of when Portland took back over again and dominated the second half. I would expect MPJ to come out stronger in game 2, try to keep that momentum into the second half and to have a big game, support Jokic, and maybe lift the burden off of an injured Gordon, like you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, I think the game plan from a Portland perspective is you want Jokic to be kind of the primary scorer, and maybe, you want to take away some of his facilitating, which I think they did in the second half, and that's kind of why you saw them take over the game a little bit, Higgins. So I think if Portland's able to stick to their game plan, and look, that's easier said than done. Jokic is probably the MVP this year. I'd say he played in, if not every single game, almost every single game. Like maybe missed two. And like dude's a walking triple double as well, just
Every
like
single
West.
game.
Yeah, exactly. So every single game, and he's a walking triple double, just like Westbrook. He's a super talented big, but you want to trade all those 2 point shots for Damian Lillard, McCollum, Robert Covington, Carmelo Anthony 3 point attempts, and that's what Portland's going to try and do.
And this is one of the most veteran teams that Portland has. They seem to be the most calm that they've been in years past, from what I've seen in a playoff team. We also have some lines for Tuesday's games, though, Brett, since those games are already finalized and out. And we have lines for the Boston Brooklyn game. The Nets are favored by 9.5 points. That line's just too big for me, but I'm not confident that the Celtics can necessarily cover that, so I'm just staying away from that as of right now. We'll see where that line even settles in on Monday, too, a day before that game. I'm looking at the Dallas Mavericks versus the Los Angeles Clippers game, Brett, and this is one that you saw success in last episode. You had the Mavericks on the money line, a big money line win for you as well by someone that doesn't like to take the underdog a lot. I'm taking the underdog on the spread though this time. I'm going with Dallas at +6, and you look at how the team played last game. Luka Doncic looks like a man on a mission. Had a 30-point fantastic game, won by 10 over the Clippers. Do I think the Mavericks necessarily get both games in Los Angeles? I'm not so sure about that. Kind of like I think how Denver's going to grab the game 2 after Portland snagged game 1. I wouldn't be surprised if it's 1-1 after both of these home series switch to the away team's home sites. But I think the game's going to be pretty close. So I think the Mavericks +6 is a solid play for this.
Yeah, like I said on the last one, last episode, Higgins. I'm a big believer in the Dallas Mavs in this series. I thought they were the better team last year when these two met up, and then Porzingis went down, and that was kind of the end of it for Dallas. But I think Dallas really wanted this series. Personally, I just don't believe it's going to be a sweep, so I took them as big dogs in game one. I'm staying away till they lose, and then I'll hop right back on the train just because, like I said, I don't believe it's going to be a 4-0 Dallas sweep. I think the 6 points does give you some leeway for a loss, but still room to cover. So I get the play, but I'm much more confident in a healthier Blazers team going up against a beat up Nuggets team versus two healthy teams squaring off like with their projected lineups that they wanted in the start of the year, right? So that's why this was a stay away from me and I was able to hop on the other series, but I definitely get the 6 point play here. I think the Mavs are the better team in the series.
This is also going to be a very angry Clippers team in game 2. I mean, there were quite a few things trending on Twitter about Kawhi and Paul George's playoff abilities, necessarily reminiscent of last year potentially. Brett, we also have another line, though, in the NBA. We got a Wednesday line, the Wizards versus the 76ers. The Sixers are 8 point favorites, and Brett, honestly, we're just too far out from that game for me right now. I'll probably look at that game after seeing how I do in Monday and Tuesday night's games, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean that's fair, Higgins. I'm not betting on it either, but that's just because I could see this series going either way. I could see games where Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal take over. I could see games where Phillies three dominate, like game one. So I'm not sure which will come out each night. Russell Westbrook didn't have a triple double in game one, so maybe I'd bet on him to have one in game two, but that's about all I'm certain on.
Yeah, that's probably a game that I will be posting pics on our social media for, so make sure to follow us there at MBB Pod on Twitter, at Next Best Bet on Instagram, and the Next Best Bet Facebook page, because I just think we're a little too far out. I want to see the odds settle down a little bit, see where people are going, and maybe play contrarian or maybe jump on board with the public, depending on how I'm feeling. Jumping into the NHL, Brett, though, the Stanley Cup playoffs, those are in full swing as well. We have already seen some first round series come to an end, like the Colorado Avalanche beating and sweeping the St. Louis Blues, like the Boston Bruins getting a win over the Washington Capitals to clinch that series as well. We have a few more series still playing out, though, and it's shaping up to be interesting coming down the stretch.
Yeah, we got a good Islanders Penguins series, Higgins, where it's 2-2. Each team has a win on the other's home ice. Each team's defended home ice once. So this has been a fun series back and forth. But when the Islanders have started their white whale, Ilya Sorokin, they're 2-0. And when they've started Varlamov, they're 0-2, Higgins. So I'm expecting them to roll with Sorokin the rest of the series, and the Islanders plus 120 with an undefeated goalie in the series in net just seem too good to pass up.
Yeah, Sorokin in game one and game four grabbing the wins, Varlamov game two and game three grabbing the losses. I agree. I would expect to see Sorokin in game five here. I think that's the smart play. A series that's tied at 2-2, though, in Pittsburgh. I'm anxious betting against Sidney Crosby, to be honest. I'm staying away from that series for right now. I'm finding myself on a different game on Monday, Brett. The Tampa Bay Lightning and the Florida Panthers so far. The Tampa Bay Lightning are leading the series 3-1. They have a chance to end this series, get a little rest, get a little reprieve before the next round of the playoffs. And I think they're going to do it. Not only do I think they're going to do it, I think they're going to get a multi-goal win. So I'm taking the Lightning minus 1.5 at plus 210 odds. Some fantastic value, if you ask me, because the Colorado Avalanche, when they finished their series on Sunday night against the Blues, a 5-2 victory. Multi-goal because the Blues pulled their goalie when they were down 3-2 and the Avs got two easy empty net goals. Then you look at the Bruins against the Caps. The Bruins were able to get a 3-1 victory. That was without an empty netter goal, but the Bruins still grabbed a multi-goal victory. So I like the trend that I'm seeing. I like the potential of the team that is down in the series back against the wall, pulling their goalie, leaving it unattended, leaving a high chance for a multi-goal win. I think that the Tampa Bay Lightning are going to finish it here in game 5, so give me that puck line.
Yeah, well, two of the three games that they've won so far, they would have covered Higgins. I know you took them on the last episode and their one loss in the series, but yeah, plus 210 value on something they've done 2 out of 4 games already in the series. They've won 2 out of 3. So why not?
Yeah, and I'm keeping that trend as well with another game going on Monday night, Brett. The Minnesota Wild are in Vegas facing off against the Golden Knights. The Golden Knights have a 3-1 lead over the Wild as well, and the Vegas has really dominated this series since losing that game one in overtime against the Wild at home. Vegas responded by in game two winning 3-1, and then in game three 5-2, and in game four they won 4-0. All multi-goal wins. I expect Vegas to finish it off now that they're back at home again. And a multi-goal victory at minus 1.5 is plus 150 odds. So as long as one of these puck lines covers, Brett, then it covers both of them just in case. It pays off the other one, and I still have a little bit of profit.
All right. Well, I hope it's the Lightning, Higgins, because that'll be a nice big win for you.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a bigger margin. That's true.
Go Lightning.
Let's jump into some moneyline magic, Brett. Speaking of some baseball, before we get into our baseball picks, on Sunday night, the Athletics, they were facing off against the Angels, and this is a perfect recipe for a moneyline magic because when you look at this game early on, it seemed rather easy that the Athletics were running away with it. And the way that the Angels have played, it wasn't really surprising either. I mean, the Athletics, they have 2 home runs in the second inning, and then they scored another run in the third to put them up 4-0, Brett.
Yeah, but LA would respond though with a run in the fourth and a run in the sixth, and then 3 runs in the seventh, taking a 5-4 lead, Higgins. So the Angels fought back. Otani's obviously been the big story, everything he's doing this year, but his bat, I mean, has been unbelievable this year. So even with Trout out for a while and some of the other Angels struggles, they still find a way to squeak some runs across the plate.
Otani actually did not play DH today. He came in a pinch hit situation, hit a sacrifice fly, and then they moved him to right field like they did a little earlier this year. So maybe trying to get him a little comfortable to being a full utility player, not just being a pitcher, not just being a designated hitter, but maybe being a fielder as well. Who knows? This is an interesting little development we've seen with Otani. But Brett, back to the money line magic. Like you said, Los Angeles takes a 5-4 lead. Oakland would tie it back up with an infield single by Sean Murphy. He hit it back to the pitcher, but then there was a throwing error by the pitcher that allowed the tying run to score, making it 5-5. And in the bottom of the eighth, the Angels would immediately retake the lead with a sacrifice fly that brought in the winning run, and the Angels grabbed a 6-5 win in a comeback effort and a perfect money line magic, if you ask me.
Yeah, and the Angels needed this win, Higgins. So it's nice that when the teams that need the wins are making it happen late and rallying to come through, that's always exciting and a good recipe. Hopefully, they can keep it going throughout the week.
And I'm sure that the Angels got a few calls from the rest of their division opponents for getting a win against the top seed. The Athletics are currently leading the AL West. The Angels are at the bottom of the AL West, so it's always nice to be chopping away at the top from the very bottom.
Exactly. Yeah, it's been a rough go for the Angels. They need to get healthy. It's gonna be a little while, and they're very top heavy. Higgins. It's like Trout, Rendon, Otani. You and I like David Fletcher, but outside of those few, it's slim pickings for the rest of the Angels.
Yeah, it starts falling off. Walsh, he's developed pretty nicely.
Walsh is good.
He's a good player, but you're right. The Angels, they got to find a little few more pieces. Wouldn't be surprised to see them being a little active in the market. But before we get into our baseball picks, Brett, today's podcast is presented by Podgo. Podgo is the easiest way for you to monetize your podcast, providing podcasters with a flat rate for ad space, so you always know how much you get when you include an ad from Podgo. Apply today to become a member, and you immediately be connected with advertisers that fit your audience. That's podgo.co at podgo.co. And be sure to add our podcast, The Next Best Bet, in the How Did You Hear About Podgo section of the application. Now, jumping into our baseball picks, Brett, we have some interesting lines out. Like, for example, your New York Mets, who have been playing fantastic. Their bats have been much more alive since firing that batting coach, and they're hosting the Colorado Rockies. Now, the Rockies are used to playing in an elevated area, so their bats are a little inflated, and they're coming back down to sea level. But I still like this over. In Oregon, it's sitting at 7. Over is minus 125 odds. And you look at who's on the mound in this scenario. You have Austin Gomber and David Peterson. Both of them have an ERA that is barely below 5.0. So I'm expecting some runs to be scored personally. I expect some balls to leave the stadium in Citi Field, to be honest. And 7 is just too low for me, so give me that over.
All right, Higgins, fair enough. I mean, I gotta be honest with you. When I look at the Mets lineup, I see no runs. It's a brutal lineup right now. Do you know our three-hole hitter Higgins has a 500 OPS and a decent OPS is about 850. Jacob DeGrom's is 1,000. So theoretically, right now, Jacob DeGrom is twice as good as our three-hole hitter at batting.
You're talking about a potential NL MVP there, though, Jacob DeGrom.
I am
Look,
talking
just
about
just
an
look at the
MVP.
futures listings. He is up there for not just the Cy Young, the MVP. So put some respect on that man's name.
Hey, I am all for DeGrom becoming our Otani. I'm just pointing out some facts. He might literally be batting in the seventh spot on Tuesday. And it won't be because, like, oh, this is some gimmick. It's like, nah, he's probably our seventh best batter in the lineup today.
But we're
But
talking about Monday.
we are talking about Monday. DeGrom will still be on the IL on Monday. David Peterson's on the mound. But the key piece that the Colorado Rockies got back in the Nolan Arenado trade was Austin Gomber. Gomber was terrible in April, but has looked much better in May. His splits on the road are not good, but again, have improved in May. The Mets are so beat up right now, Higgins. I cannot back them. I love the Mets. I love how this team is fighting every night. They somehow are putting up runs. They somehow took 2 out of 3 from Atlanta. They stole a game in Miami this weekend as well. So, they're not completely dead in the water, but I am not trusting the Mets until they start getting some bodies healthy because you see names like Brandon Drury and Khalil Lee and there are some names in this lineup, Higgins, that you wouldn't know if they were your grocer, your mailman, or a New York Met. So that's just the truth of it right now.
And to be honest, that's music to my ears for an over. That sounds like errors. That sounds like sloppy play. That sounds like the Colorado Rockies, who in 2 of their past 3 games in their recent series against the Diamondbacks scored 7 runs on their own. Can the Mets get a run? If they can get a run, then maybe I hit my over. If not, maybe I get a push. But to be honest, the Mets, in 2 of their past 4 games, they've hit this over as well. They had an 11-run game that went to extra innings against the Marlins a couple days ago. And they also had a 9-run game against the Braves a couple days ago. They wouldn't have hit that in Sunday's game. That was a 6-run loss, 5-1 against the Marlins. But I'm hopeful. The Rockies, some big bats, hopefully coming to town. City Field's going to see some home runs. I'm calling it. We got some big ERAs. Going to see some big numbers.
All right. Well, I just hope they're hit by Colorado because plus 106 would be a nice little payday.
Absolutely. Now, I found myself in another spot in the baseball world, Brett, and that's heading to the Midwest, going up to Milwaukee. San Diego is traveling to face it off against the Brewers, and the Padres are going to be the underdog. This is the first game of this series, and I get it. You have Brandon Woodruff on the mound, who has been fantastic for the Brewers so far. But the Padres have gotten their bats back recently. They just got over this COVID bug that they had. Everyone's tested negative. They're all back. Tatis hit 2 home runs on Sunday. The Padres are back to their big bat lineup that they were once with. And they have Blake Snell projected to be on the mound against Brandon Woodruff. So I don't know how confident I am in the Brewers' bats, to be honest. So I'm taking the Padres at plus 100 on the money line while they're still underdogs on Sunday night because, Brett, that might flip depending on where the money goes on Monday.
Yeah, it's interesting. Woodruff is one of your guys, Higgins. The Brewers have, probably the best 1-2 in the NL going right now. San Diego's has some good pitchers as well with Darvish and Snell. But Milwaukee did just get Christian Yelich back. He actually hit a home run on Sunday, which is a positive sign because he had not hit one prior to going on the IL. So maybe he's got a little pop back in his bat, but I'm with you, Higgins. I'm looking at this San Diego plus 100, and I don't care that Woodruff's on the mound. How many times are you getting plus money with the Padres this year?
This over under is also sitting at 7, and I think that might even be a little low because I believe in the Padres bats that much, and like you said, Yelich did come back. The Brewers did score 9 runs on Sunday, so maybe that is a sign of life for the Brewers lineup as well. 7 does seem low. I'm gonna stay away from that over under right now, though. Padres plus 100 on that money line. That's a beautiful line on Sunday night. I agree. I really wouldn't be surprised if that flipped on Monday.
Yeah, we shall see. But lots of great games. Obviously, the biggest is going to be between Tony La Russa and the Cardinals. That'll be the night game on ESPN. So I'm sure a lot of people will be tuning into that. White Sox currently favorites Higgins. I guess they have Lance Lynn on the mound, so it makes a little sense. But I think the Cardinals currently, without all the injury problems, have the better lineup than the White Sox. So is this a case where you'd back a pitcher or anything like that? Or do you have any leans on this game? I know neither of us are going to be on it, but it is the game of the day.
I could see myself going with the Cardinals, but I want to see how some of my other Monday bets go. I have my bets out and some of them will finish up by that time that night game starts. So I'm hoping maybe if I get an early win, maybe then I'll find myself on the Cardinals money line. I agree. I think their bats are a little better suited, and LaRussa I don't think has the clubhouse in Chicago right now, to be honest.
Yeah, it's been a tough go for Tony La Russa, but let's get into our Levy Lock pick of the pod, Higgins.
Well, if it wasn't more obvious of who has the honors, it's the man that hit not one but two Levy locks on Saturday.
Yeah, well, I to be fair, Higgins, it was only one per episode, but I knew that Miami 6 was a bad line. I sniffed that out early, Higgins,
Yes, you
but
did. Yes, you did.
but we're gonna have to take this one to the ice because Ilya Sorokin is 2-0 when he has played for the Islanders. I expect him to be in net for the Isles in Game 5. I see the Islanders plus 120 on the money line. I say, wow, this goalie hasn't lost yet, and I get plus 120 odds. I'm all over that. So I'm going to take the Islanders plus 120 in Pittsburgh, Higgins. It's a road dog, but I think they get it done. Ride the hot goalies, right?
I think what you're saying makes sense. I really don't imagine Varlamov's gonna be starting in Game 5. It should be Sorokin. But like I said, it's a tied 2-2 series in Pittsburgh. It's hard for me to bet against Crosby in that sense. But as a Flyers fan, it's hard for me to bet on Crosby as well. So
I
I'm
was
just
gonna
staying
s-
away from that series. In all honesty,
I
in
was
all
gonna
honesty.
say, are you allowed to wear your Giroux jersey and praise Malkin and Crosby? I don't think that's allowed.
It's not. It is not. You're right. And that's why I'm staying in baseball with my pick of the pod. I am going with that Padres money line bet that I just told you about. And it's really because the Padres, they are back at full swing again. They really got all of their bats back once again. And while their pitchers, they're still a little bit away from having their pitchers to full roster with Clevenger on the IL and a few other pitchers still coming up. You got Blake Snell on the mound on Monday night facing off against Brandon Woodruff, and I just like the odds. I like the Padres at plus 100 value.
Yeah, I think you're right, Higgins. I think getting the Padres at plus 100, you're not going to get that too many times this year. Maybe against the Dodgers, maybe a one off where like their five's going versus another team's one. But
Mm-hmm.
to have Blake Snell on the ground, on the mound against Brandon Woodruff, it's pretty good if you're the Dodgers or if you're the Padres. And I like the Padres bats this year.
Absolutely. I think it's an interesting pick. I think it's a good pick and a suspicious line, to be honest. Make sure to follow us on social media, though. I'll have some picks out on our social media for the NBA and NHL playoffs in the days upcoming till our next episode. That's at MBB Pod on Twitter, at Next Best Bet on Instagram, and the Next Best Bet Facebook page and YouTube channel. This has been episode 143 of the Next Best Bet. For Brett, I'm Jake. We'll talk to you again on Thursday.